John, Kim, good to see you guys. I didn't say hello to you earlier.
Good morning. How are you? Or good afternoon.
Afternoon, I think, officially at this point.
You snuck up
Uh,
on us.
it does every day.
I see your seats are set up behind you, waiting for the coach to join you.
Yes, this is my interview room.
Okay.
It is far more antiseptic than any room in my house.
Okay. It might be a perfect picture of the amount of recruits we have waiting to talk to the
It is
coach. But that's
actually
all.
that's the two newest recruits sitting in those chairs.
Okay.
They're uh, they're invisible. They are going to swat balls away. They're going to get away with goaltending next year because nobody's going to
Okay.
be able to see them, which is great.
I've always wanted to know what somebody and nobody looks like, so now I know.
Yep, there you go. Anybody can do it. Somebody didn't.
That's it. That's funny.
Kim, how are you?
I'm doing all right, just working. Sorry if you hear clicky clacks.
That's okay. What's that commercial that says it's about retirement benefits or something, and they say that you need these ladies. They somehow have fingernails that make the clickety clack sound more clickety clackety.
Yeah, I do have one of my keyboards is one of like the typewriter keyboard.
Oh, nice.
A little bit obnoxious, but it's okay when I'm by myself.
You got that little ball that has the Pika letters on it. Or is it Pika? Pika or Pika doesn't matter.
It's fine. Either way, we got an idea. I think he's talking.
Yeah, he unmuted. We can't hear because of the background noise. I'm gonna mute everybody now, and hopefully that'll get better.
There you are. Welcome. My name's Dean Hammond. I am your fourth quarter president for the meeting today. Yes. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Oh, yeah. No, there's no question about that. And to get this thing started, let's bring Phil Gray up here. He's the president of the Foundation for Affordable Housing with all this homeless housing down at St. James Place. He's going to bring us the pledge and the four-way test and the inspiration for today.
Thank you, Dean. Start with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right. Okay. As I watched the coverage of Artemis 2, during its 10-day mission, and then it splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego on Friday, April 10th at approximately 8:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I watched in awe. Surely NASA, which explores the unknown in air and space, innovates for the benefit of humanity, and inspires the world through discovery. It's one of the most important and amazing organizations in America and in the world, especially when compared with the insanity that we hear from our so-called world leaders. The Artemis 2 mission traveled roughly 685,000 to 700,000 miles in total during its 10-day mission. On April 6th, the crew reached the maximum distance of 252,756 miles, setting a new record for the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth, surpassing the previous record, which was set by Apollo 13. The Artemis II mission was the first crewed lunar mission in more than 50 years. Reflecting on 10 days in space, Artemis II astronaut Christina Koch spoke about the human moments of the journey and redefined her understanding of what it means to be a crew. Christina defines a crew as a group of people inescapably, beautifully, dutifully linked, who are in it together, regardless of the challenges. In her post-Artemis II mission reflections, she described the crew as a unit that operates with a shared purpose, sacrifices for one another, and offers both accountability and grace. She learned this while spending 10 days with 3 other male astronauts in a spacecraft the size of a large hot tub with a 7-foot ceiling. The key aspects of her definition of a crew: they have a common goal. They have interconnectedness. They demonstrate sacrifice and grace. The crew has accountability to each other. And there's a universal application. Beyond space exploration, she famously noted, planet Earth, you are a crew. Her definition highlights that in a crew, there are no passengers, only individuals mutually dedicated to one another and the mission. Rotary, we need to make sure that we are a crew. And finally, Artemis II, after traveling over 685,000 miles, hit its splashdown point perfectly. However, they did miss their landing time. After 10 days and those 658,000 miles, Artemis II splashed down 20 seconds late.
Now for another important facet of our meeting, Barry Stumble will be coming up here and introducing our guest for today.
Thank you, President Dean. We'd like to recognize our guest today. And when I announce you, please stand up and all the guests remain standing until we'd like to recognize you appropriately. Please hold your applause until everybody has been introduced. A guest of Rick Walls is Allison Watson. Allison, would you please stand? A guest of Bruce Daly is his wife, Meta. Meta, would you please stand? The Reverend David Blondell has got his son, David Brian Blondell. We need to make this guy a member. And Jim Richardson has a guest, Andy Walker. Would you please stand? Would we recognize them for attending today? Thank you so much. There are no visiting Rotaracts or Rotarians, and we look forward to seeing you all again and hopefully joining Rotary, one of the best Rotary clubs in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry. Well, our celebrating birthdays this week, Rick Strode and John Rich. Want to remind you, in your birthday month, you're supposed to give your age to the Rotary Charitable Fund. So some of you, that'll be a big check, I know. So yeah. Now I'd like to get Tom up here to do the lottery. And I think Walker's coming up. Okay, Walker Board from Morgan Stanley. They are our lunch sponsors this time.
All right. The first number is 0933. 0933. The second number is 0914. 0914.
How much we got in there, Tom?
About $1,150.
About $1,150. All right.
Oh, wrong phone. Oh. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, President Dean, for having us. One thing wanted to mention this week is, when was the last time you reviewed your financial plan or your investments for the most tax efficient strategy? Tax efficiency is key. And we believe at Morgan Stanley, we have tools that no other firm has, and we'd love to share them with you. We do have a pamphlet in the back to talk about some of the simple strategies that we use, and would love to help. Thank you again for having me.
Well, this week's not any different than any other week. It's packed with Rotary things going on. This Saturday, I'll remind you of the video, or I mean, the talk I gave a while back about Ryla, and everybody turned to and helped us. And so we got 22 screaming eighth graders out there to be there all day from 7:15 in the morning till 6 at night. So Susan and I and Edwin and Chris, you can wish us luck being out there with them for that period. And we have an early morning mixer tomorrow morning, and I announced it last time. We need to make sure we go to that anytime we can. This is a great place to meet and network, not just for Rotary, but for business. So it's really good. 46 Solutions in Lexington Green. That's 8 to 9:30. So please go to that when you can. Okay, Kim, is Brett here? Kim, stand up. Big round of applause for Dancing with the Lexington Star. There he is, okay. Brett and Kim, they are sold out. But that doesn't mean you can't do something, because we need bourbon for the bourbon pool. So bring a bottle of bourbon worth $50 or more. And you also can take out an ad in the program. Is there anything else to add to that, Brett? Very good. Vote for dancers. That's even more money. And they're bringing it in. I'm telling you, they're bringing it in. I saw the report yesterday. It's fantastic. So as usual, thank you very much for a wonderful job. I take it that we had a good time. I was indisposed Saturday, but I take it we had a great time at the Bluegrass Miracle League. And so I'm glad everybody that could go out there and be with them were out there. And now I'd like to get Marcus Cross to come up and introduce our newest Rotarian. Marcus.
Good afternoon. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing a very good friend of mine. I've known Graham for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And I know he's going to be a real asset to the club, and we're thrilled to have him. Just briefly, Graham Priest is a native of Mount Sterling and has lived here in Lexington many years. He is a retired bank auditor, who likes to hike and garden. His family includes his wife, Barbara, and 2 sons, Thomas, 27, and Philip, 25. I hope you'll join me in welcoming Graham to the club.
And now, that's the newest Rotarian. But now I want Jim Richardson to come up, please, and introduce our newest Rotarian.
Just like Marcus, I get to introduce somebody that I've known for a lot of years. This is Lori Donaldson. And I would encourage each of you to sit down and talk to her. She has worked in service organizations. She worked at UK Athletics. Now she's with Easter Seals Bluegrass. I met her at Kentucky Children's Hospital that we now call Golisano Children's at UK. But if you really want to get to know her, you need to ask her about her daughter, Molly. Molly's going away to college this fall. She's going to Asbury. And Lori reminded me that, look, Molly thinks she's going to play soccer. She says she's going to get an education. That's what she's supposed to be doing. But I want to tell you that this is very appropriate that Lori is here today with Dr. Morgan from Morehead State as our speaker. Because this young lady next to me was part of the 1989 Morehead cheerleading national champions. I love it. How do you know that? Because I have Chat GPT. We're excited to have Lori as given her perspective for energy and commitment as part of our club. Please join me in welcoming Lori Donaldson. That's how we love it.
That's wonderful. Every week, new members. This is fantastic. Well, it's time for me to call up someone to introduce our speaker, and I'm going to do that. But I want to tell you a little bit about him. Chris Campbell, you need to know about these Rotarian stories as we go on. He's a retired colonel from the Air Force Academy graduate, still a flight instructor here, still in aviation, and he does everything, including Boy Scouts aviation merit badges. We're doing classes for that at the Aviation Museum. Serves on every committee. He's the secretary of the board of the Kentucky Aviation Museum. And I said, Chris, with all of that, can you come out Saturday and be a wrangler for Ryla? You know what he said? Yes. Chris Campbell to introduce our speaker.
Okay. Well, I won't make it long then. Speaking of wranglers, Dean needs more wranglers. He needs a couple of more folks to step forward and say, yeah, I'll give you my Saturday to work with a bunch of screaming eighth graders, 22 screaming eighth graders. Sounds like fun. Come on, somebody come join us. Okay, Dr. J. Morgan, I'm not gonna read his bio out of the wheel horse. You can do that. If you can't, then get somebody next to you to read it to you. But what I will tell you is that Dr. Morgan is a lifelong Kentuckian. Well, he's a little bit conflicted because he grew up kind of right on the border of Kentucky, Tennessee, just a little south of Murray, he was telling me. So he's not sure, you know, he thinks when he retires and he starts drawing a pension, he may, or if he gets a big inheritance, he might move to Tennessee since they have no state income tax. But nonetheless, he's been at Morehead for quite a while. He is going to give us a great presentation to talk about the things that Morehead does, not only related to aerospace, which I'm partial to, but he's got some really good stuff to share with us. Dr. J. Morgan.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction. Only the rich people move to Tennessee when they retire, so it will not be me. Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you, Dean. Thank you for having me. Lyle, thank you for the reach out and the invitation today. It certainly is an honor. And you know, when I got the invite to come today, the phone call also said, Jay, you can talk as long as you want to, but our club's going home at 1 o'clock, whether you're done or not. So as a former Rotarian, I don't guess you're ever former Rotarian. I'm an inactive Rotarian right now. Certainly understand that 1 o'clock hour, and we'll try to respect it. I was a very active Rotarian for about 15 or 16 years, and when my wife and I moved our family from Murray, Kentucky to Morehead, Kentucky, I kind of fell out of the ability with time and have not been as active as I should be. But you know, there's an old saying, the fifth part of the Rotary four-way test is the speaker shall endeth on time. And our club used to joke about that. My home club in Murray was about 140 Rotarians, about 100 showed up each week. It's probably a lot like your club here, and a lot of activities and civic engagement. And I certainly enjoyed my time there. And we actually, in my home club, used to have a seating arrangement where guests had to be very careful where they sit. And even some of the junior members of the club had to be careful not to sit in some of the senior members of the club seat, because it's kind of like church. Once you've sat there, you're going to be there about 30 years throughout the course of it. Matter of fact, if you ever sat in one of the bank president's seat, he'd call your loan a couple of days later. So I don't know if your club was like mine, but a lot of rich traditions and legacies were there. You know, speaking of all this, I never made a good grade in public speaking. I took public speaking in school and I made a C, and it wasn't even a big C, it's a little C. So I'm not the best public speaker, but I appreciate your time in letting us come today and talk about Morehead State University. Speaking of public speaking, I want to kind of start with a story to tell you how bad my public speaking was, and really the power of education. I grew up on the state line, Kentucky, Tennessee. It really depended if you wanted a lottery ticket or cigarettes to which side of the state line you went on. And that's where I'm from, just south of Murray and in the other end. But I was a terrified public speaker. In high school, we had to take this class in public speaking to graduate, and I saved it all the way to my senior year last semester. And as a part of that class, the culminating event, kind of like the final, was not a test, but you had to go out to a civic club in town and make a speech. That was the final exam. So the speech teacher, Mr. Whitfield, called us all together, and he assigned one individual to the Rotary Club and one to the Lions Club, and somebody got to go to the chamber luncheon, and somebody went to the mayor's breakfast, and he just went around the room assigning everything, and he got to me. And he said, Jay, you're going to be going to the Greenfield Ladies Club to give your culminating speech. And I said, Mr. Whitfield, they're 20 miles out in the county. They're almost in the next county. And I said, why are you sending me to the Greenfield Baptist Church Ladies Club? He said, son, they are a forgiving group and you're going to need it. So anyway, I got all my speech together and went to the Greenfield Baptist Church Ladies Club. Now this is the quintessential top hat, average age 82 1/4. White glove, pristine dress, met at the Baptist church about 20 miles out of town. I showed up, and literally you can picture them, about 30, 35 of them on the front row, second row right there, looking up at me. And I got up to the pulpit. I felt very inadequate being in the speaker or the preacher's pulpit. And I remember my speech teacher said, Jay, think about a riveting beginning to get their attention. Tell them some facts, and then just pause with an ending and glide on out and tell them thank you. And I said, I got it. So I got there, and there's 30, 35 ladies right there below me. I'm in the preacher's pulpit right here. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 feet right above them. And I'd practiced this speech, and my riveting beginning is where I stood up and I grabbed the podium and I said, and behold, I come. And I paused and I froze. And I remember my speech teacher said, Jay, if you mess up, just gently take a step back, take your breath and try it again. So I took a step back and went a little louder, and behold, I come. And I froze again. And I thought, Lord, I'm gonna have to leave. And I thought, I'm gonna give this one more shot, and then I'm headed for the side door. So I backed up and I grabbed that podium with all my might, and I said, and behold, I come. And that podium fell right off that stage on about 3 little pristine dressed ladies right on the front row. And I jumped down off the stage, and I'm pulling the podium off of one of those ladies, and she's standing up, she's pulling that white glove all the way up, straightening her hat. And I said, ma'am, I am so sorry. I'm gonna fail this class. And she said, that's okay, Sonny. You warned me 3 times. So I'm not here to warn you. I'm here to hopefully provide you with some facts and a little update on Morehead State University and many of our programs, including space science, and then hopefully have an easy ending and a thank you at the end. Related to that, Morehead State University is a wonderful partner for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and many of you have probably been there or passed through or cheered for them along the way. We're about a university, we're regional public of about 8,900 students or so. Primarily, over 85% come from the state of Kentucky. So we educate Kentucky kids, but we also bring them in from West Virginia and Tennessee and Ohio and Indiana and all parts in between. So it's a great opportunity for students, particularly really probably from I-65 all the way to the West Virginia line, to get a really good education. I use this slide sometimes when I travel around the state, so people kind of get a visual that really from Hamburg to my house, pretty darn close to the campus, is about 50 minutes or so, and that's state trooper dependent some days. But as a part of that, it's an easy run, and we do have a lot of Lexington students who migrate toward us. We have students that come up from far east Kentucky, out of the mountains, and all places in between. And it's a really good place to kind of land for a good, safe, high-quality education. Let me start a little bit with a background. When I arrived at Morehead State 9 years ago, I'm finishing 9 years, one of the things we set out to do was have a very strong push forward for academic excellence in rankings. And over the course of the past couple of years, we have advanced our rankings in U.S. News and World Report to where we are now ranked as the number 12th public regional university in the South. And our goal is to push to be a top 10. And there are strong names in that top 10 category. You can imagine some of the strong schools scattered all around the South. And really, we've done that through extreme focus. We don't want to be all things to everybody. We want to focus on what we do best, and we want to be great at it. And I compliment our campus for that. One of the highlight programs, I don't have time to go through all of them, but a couple that really kind of take the higher points. Our veterinary program was ranked number 1 in Kentucky and number 13th program nationally. And we just constructed a brand new veterinary clinic to replace an older one that actually opened in February just a few months ago. And really what we're trying to do is fill the void of individuals going to veterinary school and veterinary technicians going out and working in clinics all over our state. And what a wonderful program it is, almost 100%, if not 100% placement rate. If you want a job, you got a job. So that's one program. Another one that you might have heard of is our Craft Academy. And I'm bouncing here a little bit. Our Craft Academy is where we take an 11th and 12th grade student from all around Kentucky. Now, they mostly lean from I-65 going eastward, but we do go all the way down to Owensboro and Henderson and into that next country down in Paducah and other places down there. And they come up here. But you could think of the Gatton Academy really servicing the western end of the state, and the Craft Academy on our campus servicing our end. And you kind of see the yellow on the screen is a gentle lean toward our end. We have about 230-ish students that come and live and learn. These are 11th and 12th graders on our campus every year. They finish the last 2 years of high school and the first 2 years of college. Think about that for a minute. Last 2 years of high school, first 2 years of college, all packed into that 2-year time period. They walk our campus and you would never know that they're about 16 or 17 years old. A heavy lean towards STEM. Over 90% of them are engineering, physics, space science, biomedical science. These are the students that are going to be inventors, physicians, and engineers, and all other things in the science, STEM, and health world, leading Kentucky in the future, coming out of this program. Matter of fact, they make my head hurt when they go across the stage at graduation. We say the name and summa cum laude, and then the next one, the name and magna cum laude. And I thought back to my days when I crossed the stage, they just said, thank the laude. That boy graduated. So they really do make your head hurt in how smart they are. They're absolutely brilliant. And it's about the 10th year of graduating students across the years of the academy. So you're starting to see some of them show up now, post medical school, entering practice. So a wonderful, wonderful program. The next one is what many of you today have quizzed me about a little bit, and it's really what I call a hidden gem. And it's our space science program. Now I have to admit, I'm from Kentucky, but when I moved to Morehead with my wife and 3 kids, and they said, we have this wonderful space science program, I kind of had to do one of these. Are you sure? Are you sure? But once I got to know a little bit more about it, and about the 35th top secret form that I had to sign, I thought, this is the real deal. So we do have a hidden gem. It's our space science program. I call it our boutique program because it is so specific. And we have a research and development center on our campus that's a standalone center. It is not funded from the state of Kentucky. We're not taking taxpayer dollars to fund this from Kentucky. These are R&D dollars that are spilling in from NASA, the Jet Propulsion Lab, defense industries, intelligence industries, private firms, engineering firms, all over the country and really all over the world. And we collaborate mostly with the United States and have a lot of restrictions on other countries that we can even talk to. So there's a little bit of air of guardedness around it. But within that, we have developed the R&D Center into a Bachelor's of Space Science and Engineering, a Master's in Space Science and Engineering, and a Doctorate of Engineering and Space Science. And you can see the laser focus on space science here. And I had conversations with some of you, why not aeronautics and why not working on airplanes? We need that. Kentucky needs it. Everybody needs it. But our specific laser focus is on space science, and we want to be the best that we can be. And on this picture, you can only see one part of what we do. There's a couple of satellites up on the mountain behind our campus, and they track lunar missions and other things for a variety of public and private industries, organizations, and firms. We capture that data and then we provide it back to whoever we've received that contract from. So that is a source, one of several sources of income for our R&D center. And I'll talk about the lunar mission here in just a moment. We were on Artemis 1, which was a couple of years ago, and actually, as a part of Artemis 1, we had a separate spacecraft on Artemis 1. And I'm going to tell you from a very layman's terms, the door opened and the spacecraft went out and flew on its own. It did much more than that technically, but that's how I would describe it. Went by the moon, did a couple of things, shot some pictures, developed some frequencies, and we crashed it into the moon to end the mission. And we did that so no one would get the hardware and the data from the spacecraft. Artemis 2, talked about just a few minutes ago, we were not on that, but what we did is we used those antennas that I showed you, those big space dishes. They're huge, they're about 9 stories tall. And they pivot on top of the mountain behind our campus. We use those to track the Artemis 2 mission for NASA, collect the frequencies in split-second detail, radio frequency those back to NASA, and NASA would decide how to steer the spacecraft. Pretty cool. All from 50 minutes from here. And you might ask, why do they do that in Morehead, Kentucky? Well, there's really a number of reasons, but think about it for a minute. We're hidden gem, not passing by every day. And two, our cost of doing business is probably 60 to 70 cents on the dollar, what a tracking public or private industry could do it in California or elsewhere because our lower cost of doing business here in Kentucky. So on the Artemis 2, we specialize in lunar missions. That's really the hard focus that we have is around lunar missions. We design spacecraft, we build spacecraft, we track spacecraft, we do frequencies and communications with spacecraft. We are a lunar communications R&D operation, and that is where the gold mine is right now. That's where all the push is, and we're very, very glad that we're a part of that in a variety of different ways. So within that, it is such a gem that after I got to know it a little bit better, I thought, gosh, this is fabulous. We have since, in the past couple of years, beginning to grow that ever more. We hire several new research engineers every year who bring in more contracts, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. We have not found ET yet that I'm aware of, but they're working on that. But we hope to be a part of future lunar missions. We hope to be a part of a variety of space missions. But every time you see on the news, not every time, but a lot of times you'll see spacecraft or you'll see something related to military. You might be able to track some of those, not necessarily footprints, but some of that communication and design back to the folks that work in our facility. And they're absolutely brilliant. We don't let them out much, but they're absolutely brilliant in what they do, and certainly very proud of them. I do want to point out an interesting fact. You see all these dots on the screen. You have to kind of look around me or squint from the back of the room. That's Morehead, Kentucky. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 facilities in the world that can do what we do. And one. So our folks literally wind up in Australia, other parts of the world, to the degree that they can work with some areas. And we track, we're a NASA deep space ground tracking network because of essentially the equipment that we have, not to go into detail. So 1 in America and only about 8 or 9 around the world. And you can see why NASA begins, and the jet propulsion and defense industries and others begin to point fingers at us in a very positive way. We have so many people wanting to do contracts with us, we can't do them all. We literally cannot keep up with them in today's age. I'm gonna move quickly so I can end on time. This is our campus, circa about 1900. I love old historical pictures. I'm not a historian. Had a little bit of an economics background, but not an historian. But this is our campus today. We're building 5 or 6 brand new buildings, a heavy lean towards STEM and health education. That's where the clear majority of our students are moving to. Brand new $100 million science and engineering building set to be completed about a year from now. New music and business building. And what we're really doing is transforming our campus from what is older and beautiful buildings. We're trying to keep newer and beautiful buildings, and therefore we're having to transition and build a lot of new buildings, new residence halls. Our architecture, in my opinion, is beautiful. We're kind of going old school on the outside, new school on the inside. New dorms going up, new academic buildings going up all over campus. I use this because I'm from Kentucky and our family loves basketball. This, we think, is the first basketball team from the Morehead State Eagles. My, have we come a long way with NIL and transfer portals and all different types of things of which we don't have time to talk about today that are extremely frustrating. I yearn for the old years of college athletics, football, basketball, baseball. I yearn for them. When you would bring a team in, regardless of what it was, you spend a couple of years facilitating those men and women, and man, you build a team over a couple of years in a dynasty. I just, in all candor, do not like the new NIL and transfer portal and new people I don't even get to know their names. They're only there about 8 months and they're gone. And literally, you don't even get to know these young men and women's names because they transition so quickly. And that's the world that we live in. In our university, albeit smaller than University of Kentucky, Louisville, and some of the other big ones out of state, we have similar challenges trying to meet some of those new and what I call curveball demands. This is only a small section of our campus now, and I pointed out because I want to point out the beauty of what we have. If you're looking for a safe, smaller, affordable campus that's ranked number 12th public regional university in the South, you can find that about 50 minutes from Hamburg, Lexington, Kentucky, and we would love to have you on our campus at some time. My speech teacher said, give them all the facts and then kind of have an easy ending and tell them thank you. So I'm going to pause here and with an easy ending and simply say thank you. It's good to be a former active Rotarian standing in front of you as a group of Rotarians. Thank you for what you do, both as a club and for the community and the Commonwealth. I sure wished I had time to be more involved in Rotary. I respect what you do, and I hope you continue that good work. Thank you for having us today. Thank you for letting me tell just a short snippet of the story of the Morehead State Eagles. Thank you very much.
We have time for some questions.
We have time for a question or two, and if they're easy ones, I'll take them, and if they're hard, I'll go ahead and head for the door. So, well. Space science is about 240, 260 students. They're from all over the United States. Absolutely. Yes. The budget for that program, maybe part of it, about $65 million of known publicly viewed contracts. And probably some that are not known and publicly viewed. Yes.
Around some of the things that are studied there. My question is, how many of your students get access to the security clearance process to be able to report on?
Yeah, that's a good and a fair question. The question was about how many students can kind of get access to facilities and security clearance. We do not allow certain individuals from certain countries even in the building. And when some of our individuals are in the room with them, you just have to leave the room. There has to be no contact. I'll leave kind of some of the countries to you. So there is a little bit of a guardedness there. We do have a little bit of a sensitivity. Our students do put their hands on building spacecraft. They're in bunny suits, in clean rooms, working on things, tracking frequencies and all different types of things. There are some things, obviously, we don't let students have access to because of certain clearances. But I'm going to say, just to give you kind of a general feel, 70% probably of all the students are actively hands-on learning. And in the upper years and master's and doctoral program, probably 100%. Not every student gets to put their hands on multi-million-dollar machinery, but it is a fairly hands-on program. One more. Well,
Jay, thank you very much for being here. As a token of our appreciation, we've got a lithograph here by Bill Strauss, one of our Rotarian photographers, and hope you enjoy this. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rotarians, we are privileged to be together here today, and I hope you remember that. It's just a wonderful situation for us to be able to be together each week or in the weeks that we meet. And don't forget, tomorrow we've got the mixer in the morning, and I'll see you on the next trip. We're adjourned.
I was going to ask you, students of other countries. Right.